Yo, what is up, YouTube? Today we have another expanded deck profile for you today. Again, this is completely theory and something I haven't tested too much in, but I did a lot of stuff thinking and counts and yeah. Without further ado, I saw a list like this, top 4 a League Cup in, I think, Iowa. I'm not entirely sure, but I saw the list and I really liked the idea behind it, where it was like a greens ReshiZard that played just heavy welder, and basically you played the elixirs and stuff. So like not only are you just welder dependent, but you can literally set up a ReshiZard out of nowhere and you're doing 230 damage, which isn't like a ton in expanded, but 230 is still 230 and takes out a lot of big threats. So you can play damage modifiers like choice bands and muscle bands in this list, which I have just opted not to at the current moment because I think a Turtonator is better. But yeah, I will explain kind of my thought process behind how I want the list to be done and where I went with this and where you guys can also go with this as we go. So we've got the Turtonator Explosive Jet. This is kind of our late game end all be all closeout, or even early game I'm going to blow something up that's being a really big annoying threat to me. Because getting energies onto the board is very easy with a welder and an attachment and elixirs. So you're getting at least 3 every turn with a welder attach, and with elixirs you're doing it very, very quickly. You have your good old pal Reshiram Charizard-GX tag team, the boy SOB, you know him. You got Volcanions. Flare Starter is really, really good, especially in expanded. Even though if you go second, you're fine. You can get the nest balls. You can get into the guy with nest ball Float Stone. You're fine. You just pop it and get it, and you're chilling. And then you just straight up power up a guy, get 300s out of the board out of nowhere, and then next turn you're playing for welders, everything is okay. There's a Fiery Flint in here because it's just getting energies out of the deck is a pain sometimes. 2 crystals because you burn energies pretty quickly, so just get them back and do something you want with them. 4 Max Elixir, in case you missed this card. Look at the top 6 cards of your deck, attach basic energy you find there to basic Pokemon on your bench, shuffle the other cards back into your deck. So this is 4 potential hits, considering our deck is 15 energies, so the odds are pretty stacked in our favor that we will end up hitting some of this at some point. There are 2 nest balls because everything is nest ball searchable in the deck, and you don't really need more than 2 search cards to get stuff going, because you don't really, once you are not getting benched, you can take your sweet time getting where you need to be. Now here's where we bring back a blast from the past. The list that I saw was playing Pokegear. But in my mind, I'm thinking, why would you Pokegear for 7 when you can play Random Receiver and you guaranteed hit a supporter? You guaranteed always get a supporter here. So even if you can Pokegear and get something out of your choice out of 7, I would rather Random Receiver and guaranteed find myself a supporter so I don't not have something for next turn. And given the contents of our supporters, there's very few misses that we can get with the supporters even. I think an early game Blacksmith sucks. And then Guzma, Lysandre, or Acerola are the only 3 real whiffs that we have in the deck. So given that, we can pretty much Random Receiver into whatever we need it to be for the following turn. There's 1 Reset Stamp, because I think greens for Reset Stamp is actually really cool and easy, and in expanded, Reset Stamping someone to 1 and going Power Plant, it's still very, very, very strong, because Shamans and Dedenes and Lele's, decks are more based on abilities and expanded. There's 4 Via Seekers, because why not? You have supporters. You can go to 3, honestly, and play something like one of the damage modifiers I was talking about, a Choice Band, a Muscle Band, fighting Fury Belt even. Give this beefy guy a little more HP. So that's one thing you could do. I have not personally tried it, and it might be good, because I think you don't need 4 VS Seekers considering the heavy supporter count. There's 2 Giant Hearths, because Giant Hearth plus Welder is actually really, really good, and it'll just fuel your early game more than you can imagine. And if these were in the same format at the same time, with Jirachi, then things would have been a little bit crazier with abilities already even. So, but as you can see now where the current format lies, there's a Heat Factory because we never turned down a chance to just get free cards. There's 2 Power Plant because I think in the expanded format, there's a lot of abilities to Dene, Shaman, Lele, Darkrai EX, Zoroark GX, there's more I'm off the top. Mew 3 is one. Yeah, a lot of decks do play a ton of abilities, and yeah, they vomit presence onto the board, but a turn 1 greens for Power Plant plus whatever you need for the following turn, or just go into the Volcanion is really, really strong, I think, in this current format, which is why I included Power Plants from the list that I saw. And I think just being able to force your opponents to get that stadium, which they may not play, which they may not have. Zoroark plays 3 stadiums. They have to find it immediately without being able to use those abilities because they play such low counts of supporters. Mew 3 plays low counts of supporters. You force them to find that kind of stuff. Blastoise plays only like Archies and stuff. You're forcing them to find that turn 1. If they don't find it turn 1, you could pretty much just beat them. These power plants could also be silent labs. Yeah, they could be silent labs. I don't really know what the biggest difference would be in the two. I think like silent lab would just stop stuff like execute, which may just be better overall in the grand scheme of things. But I just put plants in here because plant was the first thing I thought of. So like I said, silent lab could be better. Acerola is really good. I mean, let's make that change. Let's make that change as we're going, and we'll make it an addendum. We'll go read silent lab and double check. Yeah, because it's basic Pokemon. That's why I don't want lab. That's why I remembered. I didn't want Silent Lab because it says basic Pokemon as opposed to Power Plant, which shuts down all EX GX. So that limits Zoroark, especially more than anything, because I think Zoroark is still a really, really good deck. And I think Zoroark will definitely not go anywhere anytime soon. And also Catwalk can be put into anything now, which I think is crazy. One Acerola, because we do have big chonky boys that have a lot of HP, so we can capitalize on Acerola-ing and then just Flare Starting for a turn, or we can set up 2 different guys and then Acerola, and then figure it out from there because we have elixirs. We can power up somebody in 1 turn. Yeah, we can just protect a guy, which is really important, I think. There's one Blacksmith because we don't really want a Blacksmith early game, but late game we can Blacksmith onto something like a Turtonator when we're running low on energies and attach and just kind of do something with it. So I think I like having the option and the versatility of a 1 Blacksmith. There's 4 greens because it is the core of the deck, and we don't play a way to put supporters in the discard, so we need to find that greens early, and giving us the outs to 4 random receiver, 4 greens is a pretty good way to find a greens turn 1, to just start our setup and get it rolling, because the biggest way we lose games is if we do get donked, which I think is a little bit scary to think about, but I think that's the biggest way greens decks do lose games. They get hand disrupted and they get donked. There's 1 Guzma and 1 Lysandre, which I think are both... I like having the split. I've said this before. I've said it in other videos. I like having versatility. I don't like tunnel visioning at a 2 Guzma. I don't like tunnel visioning at a 2 Lysandre. I like just having the options. The split is fine. The Guzma switching effect is really, really good. But when you're playing cards like Float Stone and Expanded, I think it's slightly negligible that you can just play a Lysandre and call it a day. So yeah, 1 N and 1 Sycamore because you need to have... These 2 cards are staples of Expanded, and they're pretty stupidly good, honestly, with VS Seeker, especially because you have the options to use them again. And they're both really good hits early game off of the random receiver. Not so much the end, but the Sycamore, I think you don't mind just discarding a hand of 7 and drawing a brand new hand, especially if that hand has something like a Greens or a Lysandre or one of your one-of supporters to just put into the discard and utilize them once again. There's 3 Welders because I want to find room for a 4th, but I think the 15 energy is crucial. Maybe you could go down 1. I don't know. I feel like having the elixir hit's so important sometimes. So Welder is really good. 1 Float Stone. The Drill Float Stone's always been a good card in Expanded. It's one of those like end-all be-alls. You still play it because, I mean, a second one would be really nice in case I prize one because that's where the second nest ball's in here. You don't really need more than 1 either, but prizing a nest ball would really, really suck in a lot of situations. So being able to go greens for nest ball Float Stone to go into the Volcanion is very important early. And the 15 energy I think is really important because you need to hit the elixir, and a lot of the time 1 less means like 1 worse card you're getting, and when your deck is based on like a Welder engine, you're still playing on a Welder engine, which I think is fine. So you're playing on a Welder engine, so cards are hitting your hand, you have flints hitting your hand, so elixirs need to hit the board too. So you are using a lot of these fires that are in the deck. And with Turtonator as our big cleanup attacker, we do want to put as many energies on the board as we can. So missing an attachment or something like that could really suck. We do have Hearth to dig things out, but yeah. So you could interchange one of these VS Seekers, like I said, for something like a Choice Band, or let's do that right now and just for example's sake, like a Choice Band we'll put in just to have it here as an option, as a potential option in the deck. And as far as other supporters goes, you could cut down the supporter counts a little bit to figure out what you want. But yeah, otherwise I think the deck is really, really solid. I haven't played any games with it. Fire does lose to water, I think, so Archie's is like a really, really bad matchup unless you get the plant to stick. But I think every other deck could be winnable, and you give a good shot. If you're scared of like Night March and stuff, just play Karen. The drill. This may be one of the few decks that can keep up with Turbo Dark and Expanded, just because you have so much damage coming out of nowhere. just like Turbo Dark has a lot of damage coming out of nowhere also. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I think this may not be the degenerate stuff too much, but remember to like, subscribe, and catch me on Twitch streaming from Monday through Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will see you guys there. Thank you so much.